It's poison, but I'm still alive. Before we get into the tutorial, I did want to show you guys a bit of behind the scenes. So this is the huge mess that this video shoot created. So this is how my basement looks currently, and I'm horrified for when I have to clean it all up, but that is, you know, a struggle for another day. For this tutorial, I did use a number of main products, one of them being face paints, another one of them being glitter, an assortment of brushes in different sizes, some face adhesives, some colorful eyeshadows, girl, the brighter, the better. And then some other random products that I will mention like throughout the tutorial as I use them. So there are a number of props you need to make beforehand, one of them being these cute little fly guys. So I just picked up some black cardstock, cut out some circles, cut out some wings from white cardstock, drew on them with a marker, and then glued it all together with this hot glue gun here. I also glued on some googly eyes. And then I also glued the flies onto these like clear little stick things. You usually see them at weddings or like in like flowers and vases. Do you know what I mean? They usually hold a card. I just picked these up at my local craft store, and I think they worked really well, and I think that they're super cute. Some of the props that I used I was able to just buy, like these donuts. I basically just traced around them with some permanent marker to make them look a bit more cartoony, and I did the same thing with these like popcorn bags that I found, because girl, I ain't out here trying to be Martha Stewart, okay, even though it looks like I am. I'm not, okay? So for the food on top of my head, I basically traced out the shapes that I wanted on cardstock, which is a thicker kind of paper, and then I outlined the food with some permanent markers, and then painted it in with the different acrylic paints depending on what I wanted it to look like, cut that shape out, and then re-went over any of the lines with the permanent marker. Now this is a crucial step. You have to glue cardstock on the back of these as well to A, prevent them from curling after you painted them, and B, help them stand up straight on their own. Now I know what you're thinking, what about the magical garbage can? That is actually just poster board that I found that looks that magical, and all I did was paint on lines to make it look like a garbage can. I really didn't do much. Yikes, here we go guys. So I am gluing down my eyebrows, and I'm using my fingers because I feel like my fingers really help melt the glue into my skin, and as I'm waiting for my eyebrows to dry, I'm gonna put on some moisturizer just to protect my skin from all the adhesives I'm about to put on it. Now I'm using translucent powder to really push down my eyebrows and flatten them as much as possible, and because I have no patience, and that's what gluing your brows down requires, I'm now going in and fixing any roughed up areas or edges because you will see that later. Girl, fix it now. Ugh. Okay, now I'm putting some petroleum jelly around the edge of my hairline to prevent it from getting ripped out later, basically. And this feels so disgusting. It feels like you're putting oil on your skin and on your hair, and it's just nasty, but you gotta do it. This is also where I actually start judging myself because I've never put on a bald cap backwards. Until right now. Like what? Now I'm just sketching out where I need to cut so that my ears can pop out of this bald cap. Always make sure that you sketch smaller than your ear so that you don't accidentally like cut too much and then your hair is out or something like that. It's just a good way to prevent that. Now I'm going to take some face adhesive to glue down the bald cap. I'm going to roll the bald cap back, and then I'm going to use the adhesive to go around my face, and you don't have to worry about any hairs ripping out because we put the petroleum jelly on our hairline and glue over our eyebrows, so even if you get a bit on them, they're totally fine, they're not going to rip out. Now putting liquid latex over the bald cap edge because I really want to blend the bald cap into my actual skin. Now I'm just tracing the general outline of the prosthetic that I've made just to make sure I don't place any paint or anything where it's going gonna get covered up later anyways. Now I'm just using some foundation, and girl, I'm going over my ball cap, I'm going over my chest, I'm going over my ears, like get it honey, get it. As you can see, I've made a point to avoid that liquid latex line. Now that it's dried, I've gone over it with powder, and now I'm just blending in the foundation to that line. And as you can see, it looks pretty damn good. I mean, girl, try and clock that. Try and clock that. So I like to use brushes to apply a lot, and then I like to use beauty blenders to blend them out. So that's all I'm doing here is just blending out that foundation that I laid down previously, and now I'm just powdering it all to make sure everything is dry and it's not that weird slimy texture. You know what I mean. Oh my god, I'm giving you like bald man, alien baby realness, honey. So I'm gonna start off with this neon green face paint, and I start at the back of my head and then go forward so that it's mostly concentrated on my head and then blends into my face. Don't be afraid to wipe off some face paint too if you're finding that you're putting too much product down and you need to blend more. I'm also creating like organic and man-made lines across my chest. I really wanted this to be like oozy, confetti-ish, all the gross stuff people are throwing into garbage cans was kind of my inspiration. Now I'm taking a ripped up sponge and using a pink and blue face paint and following along those lines. I really wanted this to be like all the like small cut up stuff that would fall in the garbage can and maybe get stuck to this monster as it was like leaving the garbage can, do you know what I mean? But I still wanted it to be like fabulous. I still wanted it to be like carnival colors. So now I'm taking a big fluffy brush. Honestly, this brush is like almost too big for my eye. That's how fluffy it is. And I'm taking this teal color and then this dark green color and really like blowing it out on the outside of my eye. And then I'm doing the same with a pink on the inner portion of my eye. And then even mixing those two colors together kind of created a purple. So then I took a purple eyeshadow and blended that in the middle of these two. Later, I will be applying a pink and blue liquid lipstick over top just to really punch up the color and help hide those eyebrows a bit more, just because eyeshadow doesn't really like to stick to eyebrows. Mental note, write it down, hun, write it down. Now I'm taking a big face brush and contouring inside those lines with a pink, and then I keep darkening it with smaller and smaller brushes. Now I'm taking more face adhesive and gluing down some glitter. So I put down green glitter, I put down blue glitter, I put down reflective glitter. I really just wanted this to be as fun and sparkly as possible, because again, with people like throwing things in the trash, I just think that like little bits and particles would get stuck. As you can see, again, I'm darkening the contours of my body even more with purple and a smaller brush. The darker you get, the smaller the brush should be if you're contouring. Do you know what I mean? Now I'm taking some concealer and just carving out the front half of my eye, because I do kind of want to do this like half moon dark eyeliner thing, and I do want to have some really bright sparkles right next to it to make it pop. I just thought this dark line would help tie in the cartoon mouthpiece with kind of some cartoon like eye contouring. Do you know what I mean? I'm just adding that bright glitter over top of that concealer, and again, I'm making the eyeshadow for my eyes all go upwards to elongate my face, and for some reason this is giving me serious like Ursula, Cruella de Vil vibes. Like it's just like a villainy kind of fun poppy sort of look, and I'm so here for it. Like I said previously, now I'm adding some liquid lipsticks to my eye just to really make the colors pop. They were a bit too like muted and blown out, and I really wanted just a bit of a stronger color, so I'm applying it with the wand and then tapping it out with my finger. Now I'm taking more of that face adhesive and adding glitter right underneath my neck. I really like this kind of glitter. It's yellow, blue, and red and silver, and it just gives off a really carnival sort of vibe. However, remember to shave your baby hairs anywhere that you're going to put this face adhesive, because it will rip it out one by one. You know, not that I've ever had to deal with that. Now I'm just adding glitter to my body as well, placing it in the center and on my shoulders. Remember, if you do it on your shoulders, to do it on the front half so that it really catches the light. If you do it on the top, it won't catch the light as much, and that's just not as fun. Now I'm just adding face adhesive in slight small spots using the end of a brush and adding those little pearl details on that I talked about previously, and trust me, add more than you think you do. The more you have, the better it looks. After adding my eyelashes, I'm just going to blacken the parts of my mouth that I want to be really dark and deep after I put the prosthetic on. So I use face paint first and then powder it with eyeshadow. And here I realized how surprised I look, like if that was my actual mouth. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. So let's talk about how to make a prosthetic. The first thing you're going to need is a face cast or a mannequin, something that looks like your face. And then I usually like to take some clay and pile it on the end of my nose so that my nose has a bit more room underneath the prosthetic if A, I need to shift the prosthetic, prosthetic if it comes out crooked, or B, if I want to breathe a little bit. You know, that's kind of important, but not really. Depends on who you ask. The second thing that people usually mess up on is work on your face cast on an angle. So when you're creating your prosthetic, it's easier to see if something's symmetrical or if it's totally crooked. If it's just flat on a table, it's so hard to see if like what's working, what isn't, you know what I mean? So you're gonna need some flour, you're gonna need some face adhesive, and you're gonna need a container to mix that in. So I'm using very small portions just to kind of show you guys, you know, what's what. And I'm gonna take a plastic fork, for the love of baby Jesus, don't use a real one. And I'm just gonna slowly mix that flour into the liquid latex. Now, consistency, that's what you're looking for here. If it's too runny, it's not gonna hold its shape and you're gonna have a very frustrating time creating your prosthetic. If you add like too much flour at once, it's going to be very chunky and hard to work with. So you want to slowly mix the flour in until it's kind of like a cookie dough consistency. When you lift it up with a fork, it shouldn't slide off, if that makes any sense. You're just going to want to slowly mix the flour in, and always make more than you need, because if you make too little, then you have to mix up more as your prosthetic is drying. The more you create prosthetics, the more you're going to understand, like, ratio-wise what you need for everything. But it should look something like this. At least that's how I like mine to turn out. But, you know, depends what you like to work with, I guess. So now we are going to take that mixture we just made and plop it straight onto the face cast. I'm going to put mine on the forehead because this is just a small scale showing you guys how I created the prosthetic. I'm not going to show the actual prosthetic creation because I like to create mine when I'm like home alone and when it's dark out. I'm like watching a spooky movie, you know what I mean? So I'm not usually filming it. Now you're going to take some face adhesive, plop it on a tray, and I like to use my middle finger to dip in it and then smooth the mixture that we made right out. And if you find it sticking to your finger, just add more of that adhesive and keep on keeping on, girl. I like to use my middle finger because I like to have my pointer and my thumb available if I need to open something, which doesn't seem important until you need to open something and you have adhesive all over your hands. So girl, talk to me then. But as you can see, you can really smooth out this mixture just by using more adhesive and just patience, a bunch of patience. Now we're going to take a plastic knife and cut through this. This is how I created the mouthpiece that I'll be using. So you're just going to go in, literally drag it, and then drag it up when you're done, and continue doing that until you have like a jagged looking, you know, mouthpiece. One thing I did quickly want to mention is if you leave the fork in the flour and adhesive mixture, when it all dries, all you have to do is pull the fork out and it'll pull out all that dried adhesive together like in one clump, and then you have a clean container. Now I'm using a bit of a stronger face adhesive to apply the top and bottom prosthetic. As you can see, I applied the top one first and then matched the bottom up to the top. Now I'm just powdering over the adhesive that I put around the edge of the mouth just to make sure that it really blends in with the skin. Now I'm going in with a black face paint and just darkening up any lines on the prosthetic or in my actual like face to make sure that it's all dark and looks like an actual cartoony mouth. Now I'm taking a lime green face paint and just blending that mouth in with what we've done on our skin already. So just making the skin tone match. Going in with some eyeshadows, again just blending that teal eyeshadow into the face mask. The more you blend the skin tones and the textures, the more the prosthetic is going to fade away and just seem like it's part of your skin. Now I'm just going in with more adhesive and the same glitter that we used all over our body and for our neck, kind of like if the monster was like eating some of the trash. And then I'm continuing that greeny blue sparkle that's by the outside of the eye underneath just to help cover up some of the prosthetic, just to again make it blend more into the face. Then don't forget we did that ripped sponge pattern with the pink and the blue, and I'm also using that to bring it onto the prosthetic. So again, any edges that are out will be blended in better. Now I'm using more cardstock and gluing that to my bald cap, and then gluing the paper food that I've made to that cardstock. Paper works best with paper. I tried to use sponges and that didn't work, so trust from me to you, girl, from me to you, use paper with paper. Now I'm just adding some actual popcorn, and again just using it with a face adhesive. You need a lot of patience and steady hands with this, which is why it was the most challenging part for me because I have neither of those things. But I think it was super worth it because it really brought the whole look together. And that's it, that's all guys. I hope you enjoyed it.